Evening, guys, and welcome back to the Kieran Clapton Racing Show. This episode looking at the midweek racing, the midweek outlook for Tuesday through to Friday's racing from Foss Last, Newton Abbot, Fakenham, Newcastle, Stratford, and then New Toxteth and Wetherby at the back end of the week. So we start off with Foss Last on Tuesday, maybe today as you're watching this episode. We started with a 128, the maiden hurdle. A couple of horses in here of interest. The first one being the one that's currently priced up at as favourite, and that's Cal Brenner for Ben Paulin. A point-to-point winner who was keen to Ben Paulin. He put him straight into a decent bumper up at Ayr in the Ayr meeting last season, where he finished fourth. It's actually part of one of my horses to follow. I was very impressed by the way he travelled in the race and came through nicely. Not to be too competitive, but I think a step up in trip is certainly what he's looking for. And starting over 2 mile 4 would definitely bring out a lot more of improvement for this horse. And yeah, he could be a decent prospect. Obviously 5-2 favourite currently. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. Hopefully he goes and runs well. The other one in the race that could be of decent prospect down the line is Swindon Village. Charlie Longston's horse actually won a bumper at the track at the last season before running in Class 2 at Aintree, where he was 6th, and then went to Newbury and unfortunately disappointed by Kingston Hill, so likely to want the step up in trip to 2 mile 4, maybe even 3 miles in time. He's certainly one who could potentially run a decent race as well. He's 15-2 in the betting, so he's not exactly like he's not been found in the market either. The 158, the second division of the maiden hurdle over 2 mile 4 furlongs. There's 3 horses in here that are quite liked. First one is Starzand, who is a horse for Philip Hobbs and Johnson White. Mentioned this horse in my stable tour with the stable. They very much like the look of this horse. They think he's going to be a decent horse down the line. Point-to-point winner, bumper winner. He actually won his bumper at Foss Last. Comes here on Hurdle's debut over 2 mile 4, which will likely to suit. Now he is priced up at 11-10, currently favourite for the race. Potentially could be the best in these. There's a few in here though. There's a couple others in here that I'd like to mention. The first one is Big Cadillac of the Skeltons. Won a bumper up at Chepstow. This will be his first run after a wind-up. Could potentially be one for further down the line. I know what the Skeltons are like, first time with the hurdles. Potentially it could be a sit back and see how he gets on. Bit of a schooling session in public, but we shall see what happens. And the other one, which is a very intriguing runner, is for the Kim Bailey stable and Matt Nichols stable, and it's Gatineau Park. I think I pronounced that right. Be the first start for the stable and first start under rules. Point-to-point winner. Looks at one that could potentially need further in time, potentially 3 miles, potentially chaser down the line. But the fact that he's 20-1, maybe I keep a close eye on the market to see how he gets, what price he turns up at later on in the week, later on tomorrow. And then the other one to mention is in the 258, the handicap chase, where Ross Scarley Hill for Nigel and Willie Twiston Davis makes his chase debut. 3 runs at the track last season with 2 wins and a 4th on handicap debut. He's also in my horse to follow for the Chasers division. If you haven't gone over and watched those videos yet, just like the way he does it. He's a big strapping horse. I think whatever he did over hurdles last year was a bonus. I think he's going to be a massive chaser in the making. I think this is going to see if he comes in here off a very likeable mark into handicap straight away, not novice handicap, straight into an actual handicap. I think plenty of this horse, and I think he's going to go very well tomorrow and potentially for the rest of the season. We then move on to Wednesday, where we've obviously had the declaration, so there's There's 5 horses to go through on Wednesday. There's 2 races. The first being at Newton Abbot, the 123, which is a novice hurdle, where we got Apan de Nom for the Skeltons, course and distance winner last time. Very likeable win, one come through very nicely to win. He may go close to doubling up, giving away a penalty. You've got Gentleman to Boot, a point-to-point winner for the Pipe Stable, who won a bumper at Fontwell last season. Is very highly touted. I know they like him a lot in that stable. He could be one to keep on side. And then another one off the point-to-point scene is Tommy Pickles for Jamie Snowden. Now this horse, point-to-point winner, comes from the Matt Flynn O'Connor point-to-point stable. Now, if anybody doesn't know who Matt Flynn O'Connor is, he's the gentleman that's where a lot of decent point-to-pointers come from. Obviously, the notable one from last year was Final Demand. Very, very successful point-to-point trainer, and I think this could be a very interesting recruit. He had plenty of entries this week, Tommy Pickles, and they've decided to come for this race at Newton Abbot. So be keeping a close eye to see what price he opens up at. But the fact that he's in the same race as Gentleman to Boot, I probably won't have a bet in the race. I'll probably just sit and watch and see how they both get on. The other race to mention is Fakenham, another maiden hurdle. This time a maiden hurdle of 1 mile 107. 2 horses in here. North of the Richmond for the Hale stable. Now Alice Hale's being mentioned in this video. Obviously, I will mention a lot of smaller trainers in these videos as well, because they obviously have a lot of prospects coming through that may slip the net. We're not going to touch on just all the big trainers. But this horse is a point-to-point runner-up. He then went to Bangor and won a decent bumper up at Bangor. A couple of winners have come out of it already. Comes here on Hurdle's debut at Fakenham. Could be a decent recruit, especially for a small stable. But I think he might have bumped into one, because there's a decent horse in here called Storming George for Neil King. Won a bumper at Doncaster, finishing 5th in the Aintree bumper. Was actually entered to run at Chepstow, was a non-runner due to the ground. Obviously, you want to be on side with Neil King horses this time of the year. They normally do really well. He's got another one running later in the week who could potentially go well, but these horses tend to go well at this time of the year. So potentially Storming George could be the one to keep on side in the 107 at Fakenham on Wednesday. We then move to Thursday. We go to Newcastle. We got Maiden Hurdle at Newcastle, where Constant Diandi for Ollie Signer, holder of St George Gelding, that won a market raising bumper last season. He was entered actually, I think it was last Friday. I think I mentioned him on the video last Thursday. Sorry, he was entered. I think it was up at it might have been Plumpton or Fontwell, something like that, but never run. I think they was going to run another one of theirs instead. So he's an interest. One I've really got an eye on, and is looks a very good prospect, and especially for the northern tracks, is Japatas of Nicky Richards. Won a bumper at Newcastle, back at the track where he's won before. I think there's plenty to come from him over hurdles. They're very excited about him. They think they've got a big future in mind for him. And obviously starting back at track, he's already won a bumper at. He could be interesting. But the one if he does run on Thursday, obviously we haven't had decks yet, that I will be probably potentially putting up, is Perfect Tot for Rebecca Menzies. Only placed in 2 bumpers last season. But when talking to Rebecca, and obviously I emailed a lot of trainers a few before the start of the season to get stable tours for horses to follow, etc. She mentioned this horse as a potential dark horse for the season. So you'd like to think that she thinks a lot of this horse, and I think there's a lot more improvement to go when it comes of hurdles. So if this horse is declared, definitely one that I will be keeping an eye on, so maybe potentially even putting up as a selection on the day. Then we only got another race at Newcastle, 2:38, the novice chase, the beginner's chase, whichever you want to call it, and Derry Hassan Paddy comes here. for Lucinda Russell and Michael Scudamore. 2 wins last season over hurdles at Windsor, and I remember Utoxa, I think the other one was, before finishing third in Albert Bartlett, a very good third in Albert Bartlett. They're very excited to send him over fences. He's another horse that they think is going to be an excellent chaser, and whatever he did over hurdles was a bonus. They've already come out and said if he runs well, the Browns is the target. They've already come out and said that. But obviously, if he's not as good as they think he is, obviously they can drop back into the handicap for the Ultima, which obviously Lucinda Russell has a very good record in. Obviously winning last year's with Maya Tower. But yeah, I'm very excited to see how Derry Hassan Paddy gets on. I know a lot of people have got this boy on their radar for chasing this season, and definitely one worth to keep on side on chase debut for sure. We then go to Stratford on Thursday, and there's a fair few running at Stratford that could also are entered on Friday as well. Obviously we haven't had the decks yet, but I will mention them. The first race, the 147, we got a Path to Rhoda for Jamie Snowden. Path to Ronda, sorry. Bumper winner at Utoxeter. It was 4th when a listed bumper at Sandown. Could go novice hurdling. And another one in the race is first candidate for the Skeltons, a newcomer off the point-to-point ranks. The Skeltons seem to have a lot of decent novice hurdlers this season. They got plenty entered for this back end of the week. So you might see quite a few more running. Obviously there was a fair few they had up at Cheltenham that ran. And I think it looks like they've got a fair old few in here. The 217 at Stratford, a novice hurdle. There's a fair few in this that could run, who are part that I think of interest. I've got 1, 2, 3. There's 10 that I've got in here that could be of interest. Obviously, we haven't had the decks yet. High Tea for Kim Bailey was a good staying on 6th. I know staying on 6th is not of interest at Chepstow. This is now a step up in trip for this race, and that 6th was behind Masked Man, who I think could be a very interesting horse for Nigel Twiston Davis this season. I think he could be probably better than Sailor La Vie, but that might just be me. I know obviously that horse disappointed at the weekend. But High Tea, I think, will definitely come on for the run. He definitely looked like he was learning on the job at Chepstow and could definitely come on for the run. You've got a couple in here for Ollie Murphy. Next Twist is one who was placed in 2 bumpers and could improve for hurdles, and the other one is Wanna Be an Ego, who obviously he was a decent bumper performer last season, but disappointed on hurdles day when only 6th at Perth. This horse is highly touted. I hear that Sean Bowen likes this horse a lot and think there's a big of him. I think there's a big season in him. I think he put him up as one of his horses to follow, and obviously they were very disappointed that he didn't get the job done at Perth. I think he went off like 5-4 that day. But he was definitely learning on the job. He definitely struggled over his hurdles. Hopefully he will brush them up, and if he is entered on Thursday, we'd like to see a better performance from him. You've got Trade War in here for Evan Williams, 4th in a bumper at Foss Lass, and they think there are plenty of him and he could improve definitely for a hurdle. I think he was very, very childish, should we say, in his bumper career. Very green, very keen. If they think they've settled him down now, and he could be a decent animal in now over hurdles. Liam Mere Kier for Warren Greatrex. Won a bumper at Warwick, and they again think that once he goes over hurdles, he's going to improve plenty. Another one probably to keep on side. 2 from the Henderson stable. You've got Summer Ray, who was actually entered, who's a point-to-point winner. He was actually entered and touted as a decent animal. The fact that he was entered at Cheltenham, he was meant to run in the 2-mile 4 race at Cheltenham on Friday, but didn't get an entry. May come here instead, which is probably I would say going to be still a warm race looking at the entries so far. But this name of this horse being touted around a lot, the fact that he's been seen on the gallop with the likes of Constitution Hill and John Bond, etc. The fact he's on the gallop with those, Henderson obviously thinks a lot of him. And then the other one of Henderson's is Eramenko. who is entered both here and on Friday. Wherever she turns up, she will be decent. Want to bump her up at Seville, very well regarded. I know plenty of people have got their eyes on her as well. So if she turns up, she could be a decent watch as well. Quanta Vista for the Skeltons, bumper winner at bumper winner, but it was down the field in the Aintree bumper. So the fact that they thought that she was decent enough to go to the Aintree bumper, she could be decent as well. And then Taurus Boy for Ben Paulin, another point-to-point recruit, a bit like a few more that we've already spoke about in this video that he's got out this week. That both Ben Paulin and Jamie Snowden have got. They've got plenty of new point-to-point recruits that they're firing out for this season, and they're all going to come out straight in maiden hurdles, not messing around in bumpers, straight into maiden hurdles, which is very, very interesting. One other race to note on the card on Thursday is 247, which is the handicap chase, and this is one of two handicap plots that I've got in the book for this week. Obviously, if they're declared, that is. This one, they both come from the Skelton Yard actually as well. This one is Be Aware for the Skeltons, obviously second in the Greatwood, third at Ascot, but then disappointed in the spring festivals at Aintree and at Cheltenham. Off a mark of 136, comes here on chase, potentially on chase debut, over 2 miles. Now the other intriguing thing about this is they actually won this race last year with Le de Sud as well, so potentially it could be the starting point for Be Aware. And like I've said previously, I said this on my stable tour, I think this horse could be their Turner's novice handicap. A chase horse, I really do. I think they're going to try and plot him again for that race. I know they've got Country Mile, who's obviously now run twice, so it could be that horse, or he may be the Grand Annual horse, I think. But yeah, I think Be Aware could be their novice handicap chase horse. And then on to Friday, again, quick spin through that. We got Utoxter and we got Weatherby. The 1255 Utoxter, a Path to Rhoda, who I've already spoke about, on Stratford, is entered here again. We've got Dream Shadow for Fergal O'Brien, course bumper winner, who was placed in listed bumpers at Market Race in the Sandown. I know Fergal thinks a lot of him. She's been schooling well at home. I think she could go up to be a potential decent one going over a hurdle, but normally Fergals need to run over hurdles. Just be aware of that. Holnika for Ben Paulin, 4th in the bumper at Cheltenham in April. You got Le Conquista for Jamie Snowden, who was 2nd in the Aintree Festival bumper, beating half a length, so that could be decent. Eau Claire for John Drew O'Neill, and placed in 2 bumpers at Catterick, and may have more to come over hurdles. I'd be more wanting to see what she does before I was going anywhere near to backing her. Eremenko is also in this race. And then one for the Alistair Ralph stable, Country Mouse, who was a point-to-point winner, who then ran a decent enough race in the bumper at Cheltenham in April. That same bumper that Hanishta was 4th in. She finished 6th, and obviously slightly less touted because she's from the Alistair Ralph stable. So obviously, but she could be one potentially to keep on side, and you might get a bit of a price. But this could be a bit of a when it come in handicapping, because this is potentially a hot mares, not maiden hurdle. You got the 155 then, which is a novice hurdle. Again, High Tea is emptied here. I spoke about him, who obviously is run at Chepstow. He's entered here along with his stablemate Homemade Hero, who's another one from the point-to-point scene that Ben Paulin Kim Bailey has got, who they've now going to go straight over hurdles, since they think that a lot of this horse as well. And then there's 3 from the Skeltons, whichever one they decide to pick. They got 2 off the point-to-point ranks with Carla Rigg and Kill Bilanco, both point-to-point winners. Fresh to the stable, not going bumper, may not be going straight down the bumper route. They're going straight over hurdles. Or Just Golden is the other one, who was won a Chepstow bumper which the second ran today. Douglas Hyde, who finished third up at Bangor today, didn't run too badly, but he probably needs a trip. He probably needs 2 mile 4. And then finally over to Wetherby to finish the card off. We got the 1:17, the maiden hurdle. Blue Carpet is in here for the Skeltons. Again, with just Golden's also in here. Blue Carpet was second up at Chepstow. A good staying on second and could be potentially an improver for the run. Homemade Heroes in here again. Like I said, he's in at Utopter. And then you've got Lost Frequencies for the Crawford, the Coulthard stable. Second in a Class 2 at Wetherby, and then second again at Kelso. I think he is worth a second look if he gets an entry. I think he could be a decent prospect over hurdles. And then there's Moon over America for the Twiston Davis stable. Point-to-point winner who was second in a bumper at Foss Lass. Certainly one to keep on side. And then 2 more races to go. We got the 147, the Beginner's Chase, where there's plenty of decent household names in here. If these all turn up, this would be a hell of a race, but they're not going to. You've got Fingalbridge and Junkadale for Ollie Murphy. Junkadale won 3 hurdle races last year. Fingalbridge also won 3 hurdle races last year, including a listed race at Exeter. Obviously, he beat Regent Stroll there, and was the one, what's the name? Jupiter Dare. I think it's Jupiter Demott. No, it's not. The Horse of Snowdon's, I can't think of the name of it now. The one, the Julius de Picton, that's it. Julius de Picton obviously went on to win the Sefton up at Aintree, and Regent Stroll obviously won at Aintree as well. Oh, was second at Aintree, sorry. Behind Honesty Policy, so 2 decent horses in there that ran decent race at Aintree, but the back end, Fingalbridge, they didn't get the ground, that's why they didn't run there. You've got 6 Mile Bridge in here, obviously won at Trials Day at Cheltenham, but then disappointed in the Ballymore, and he finished in 9th for the Sturgeon O'Brien team. Hollygrove Cha-Cha for Snowdon, and won 2 listed events last season. Was pulled up in the Mares Novice Hurdle, and now goes chasing. And Jax Jr., who won, it was pulled up in the Albert Bartlett, but then won at the April meeting. So plenty of depth to this Beginner's Chase if they all show up. Obviously Murphy's got 2 in the race, likely think he'd only run 1, but if few of these turn up, it could be a very, very good race on Friday to watch. And in the 220, the second of the handicap plots, and this is the one I'm really looking forward to and waiting for, is for the Dan Skelton team, is the Sunray Shadow. Now, he was entered to run on Aintree yesterday, but didn't run. That's being Sunday. They ran Ace of Spades instead, and Ace of Spades actually entered in this race as well, but could run without a penalty. See what they do. Sunray Shadow is only rated 118. Won entry before being 3rd at Market Racing last December, then got injured. They think this horse could be 130, 140 horse. The fact that he's only 118, he will be absolutely chucked in when he runs. So keep an eye, especially if he's entered, as you've declared on Wednesday, he could be a very short price. Wetherby, obviously the Skeltons do very well up there as well. So that's all for the midweek outlook. Plenty to look through, plenty to go through. Obviously, we don't have the decks for the Tuesday and the Wednesday, but there's plenty of decent quality coming out in the novice divisions this season. If you enjoyed that video, guys, please like the video, drop your comments in, let me know what you think of the video. Like and subscribe to the channel. All the subscription helps me push the channel. And I hope you all have a good week, guys. I'll be back on Thursday with the weekend preview. Obviously, covering Wetherby. The Charlie Hall is the main attraction. We might even touch on a bit of Downfall as well, as the Irish jump season gets into full tilt as well. But thanks again for listening, guys, and happy punting to you all.